There are heartbreaks that shatter you, and then there are heartbreaks that wake you up. And the painful truth is this: it was never just about the person who left. It was about the parts of yourself you had unknowingly handed over to them. Imagine this: it's 2 in the morning. The room is silent except for the sound of your own thoughts. You pick up your phone for the 10th time, hoping to see a message that isn't there. You replay old conversations, old promises, old memories, trying to figure out where everything went wrong. You tell yourself, I miss them. But do you? Or do you miss who you were when they chose you? The future you imagined with them, the feeling that you mattered to someone. Because heartbreak has a strange way of exposing things we never wanted to look at. It reveals our fears, our hidden wounds. The parts of us that depend on others to feel complete. The philosopher Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves, and perhaps the same is true for heartbreak. Maybe the person who broke your heart didn't destroy your life. Maybe they accidentally handed you a mirror. And what if this pain, this unbearable, soul-crushing pain, isn't punishment? What if it's an invitation to discover who you are when the person you built your world around is suddenly gone? Because heartbreak isn't random, and tonight, we're going to uncover why it was never just about them. Part 1: The person didn't break you. They revealed you. Most people believe heartbreak begins the day someone leaves. But it doesn't. Heartbreak often begins years earlier. It begins in the moments when you learned that love had to be earned. When you discovered that being accepted meant pleasing others. When you started believing that your worth depended on whether someone stayed or left. Then one day someone enters your life. They become your comfort, your routine, your safe place. And without realizing it, you begin placing pieces of your identity into their hands. You let their texts determine your mood, their attention determine your confidence, their presence determine your happiness. Then they leave. Suddenly, it feels like your entire world has collapsed. But here's the painful truth: you aren't just grieving them. You're grieving the version of yourself that existed beside them. You're grieving the future you imagined. You're grieving the sense of certainty you thought they gave you. A tree doesn't fall because of one strong wind. It falls because the roots were already weak. Heartbreak works the same way. The departure didn't create the wound, it revealed it. This is why two people can experience the same breakup and react completely differently. One person eventually heals, the other loses themselves. Because heartbreak doesn't simply take someone away. It exposes where you've built your identity on things outside yourself. And that's why this pain feels so deep. Because somewhere inside, you're not asking, why did they leave? You're asking, if they can leave, who am I without them? Part 2: You were never chasing them, you were chasing a feeling. There is a strange thing that happens after heartbreak. You begin to remember only the beautiful moments, the late-night conversations, the laughter, the way they looked at you, the promises they made. Your mind turns them into something almost sacred. But memory is not a historian. Memory is a storyteller. And when you're in pain, it edits the story to protect you from an even deeper truth. The truth is that many people are not addicted to a person. They're addicted to what that person represented. Maybe they represented safety. Maybe they represented hope. Maybe they represented the dream that you would never have to feel lonely again. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." In relationships, people often make another person their why. They begin to believe, I matter because they love me. I am special because they chose me. I am complete because they are here. And when that person leaves, it doesn't simply feel like rejection. It feels like the collapse of meaning itself. Think about a child holding a balloon. The balloon isn't valuable because of what it's made of. It's valuable because of what the child believes it represents. Then the balloon slips away into the sky. The child doesn't cry because of rubber and air. They cry because something meaningful disappeared. Heartbreak works exactly the same way. You aren't always mourning the person. You're mourning the feeling they gave you. The version of yourself that existed around them. The future you imagined. The story you told yourself. This is why you sometimes miss people who hurt you. This is why you sometimes miss relationships that were unhealthy. Because the mind confuses familiarity with love. It confuses emotional intensity with destiny, and then it whispers, "You'll never feel this way again," But that's the lie heartbreak wants you to believe. Because no person was ever the source of your worth. No person was ever the source of your peace. They may have awakened something beautiful inside you, but they did not create it. That love, that joy, that hope was already within you. They simply reminded you it existed. And if they awakened it once, it means it can exist again, not because they come back, but because you finally learned that what you were searching for in them has been quietly waiting inside you all along. Part 3. The end of a relationship is often the beginning of yourself. There comes a moment in every heartbreak when the tears become quieter. The messages stop, the memories don't disappear, but they no longer scream. And in that silence, something strange happens. You begin meeting someone you haven't seen in a very long time, yourself. For months, maybe years, your life revolved around another person. Their moods became your weather. Their attention became your oxygen. Their approval became your mirror. Without realizing it, you slowly abandoned pieces of yourself. The hobbies you loved, the dreams you postponed, the parts of your personality that didn't fit the relationship. Then suddenly, they're gone. And for the first time in a long time, there is an empty space. At first, that emptiness feels unbearable, but emptiness is not always a punishment. Sometimes it is an invitation. The philosopher Lao Tzu once suggested that the usefulness of a cup lies in its emptiness. The space inside is what allows it to hold something new. Your heartbreak is creating that same space, a space where old beliefs can die. A space where a new version of you can finally emerge. Many people spend their entire lives running from loneliness. They jump from relationship to relationship because being alone feels terrifying. But solitude has a secret. When you stop using other people to avoid yourself, you finally begin to understand who you are. You begin asking different questions. What do I actually want? What makes me happy? Who am I when nobody is watching? What kind of life feels true to me? Heartbreak strips away illusions. It removes the masks. It destroys the stories that no longer serve you. And destruction, as painful as it is, often comes before creation. A forest fire looks like an ending, but hidden beneath the ashes are seeds waiting for sunlight. Some trees can only grow after fire, and some people can only discover themselves after loss. Maybe this heartbreak isn't the closing chapter of your story. Maybe it's the chapter where you stop chasing someone else's love and begin building a life that no longer depends on it. Because one day you'll look back and realize something extraordinary. The person who left didn't take your future away. They gave you back to yourself. Part 4. The real heartbreak was forgetting your own worth. There is one final truth about heartbreak that very few people ever talk about. Sometimes, the person who abandoned you isn't the one who hurt you the most. Sometimes, it was you. Not because you deserved the pain, not because you failed, but because somewhere along the way, you began negotiating your own worth. You ignored your intuition. You accepted less than you needed. You stayed silent about things that mattered. You kept giving chance after chance, hoping that love would eventually become enough. Little by little, you abandoned yourself. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And heartbreak often reveals the thoughts we have carried for years. I am not enough. I need someone else to complete me. If they leave, I lose everything. But none of these thoughts are truths. They are wounds speaking. Because your value has never depended on another person's ability to recognize it. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their curtains. A diamond does not become a stone because someone fails to see its worth. And you do not become less valuable because someone chose a different path. One day, perhaps months from now or even years from now, you'll remember this heartbreak differently. You'll realize that it wasn't random. It arrived to teach you something that comfort never could. It taught you boundaries. It taught you self-respect. It taught you that love without self-love eventually becomes suffering. Most importantly, it taught you that people can leave, and you can still survive. You can still laugh. You can still dream. You can still rebuild, and maybe that's the hidden purpose of heartbreak. Not to destroy you, but to return you to yourself. To show you that the love you were desperately seeking from another person must first become the love you give yourself. Because the moment you remember your own worth, something changes. You stop begging for what doesn't choose you. You stop chasing people who cannot meet you where you are. You stop building your identity around someone else's presence, and instead, you become your own home. So tonight, if your heart is broken, if you're staring at an old photo, rereading old messages, or wondering why someone had to leave, remember this: heartbreak isn't random. And it was never just about them, it was about the fears you carried, the wounds you ignored, the love you forgot to give yourself, the person you were becoming. Some people enter your life to stay. Others arrive to awaken something inside you and then leave. Both are gifts, because every heartbreak asks the same question: who will you become now that the person you depended on is gone? And perhaps healing begins the moment you stop asking, why did they leave me? And start asking, what is this pain trying to teach me about myself? Because sometimes the end of love isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of meeting the person you were always meant to become.